the young goat. Ein, it's a spring, young goat, it's Gedi. And another thing you might want to know, David wrote in some of the Psalms that God is hiding him under the shadow of his wings. Or he is hiding under. And interestingly enough, when you start walking, the two cliffs on the side of Ein Gedi are opening up like wings. And David took refuge right underneath. In the inner portion of that valley, there was a huge cave. We only see the rear part of the cave now left. And so, you see that the end of the valley, do you see that there's the rear part of the cave? A big one, where the waterfall is. And so, it could be that that was also David meant, I'm taking refuge under the shadow of your wings.
Where does the water come from? And does it flow all year?
This is an ongoing spring of water from a water-carrying layer, an aquifer, and it's all year round flowing. And the only way for us to prevent the waste of water, fresh water, into the Dead Sea is by taking it in a pipe. And the pipe, as you can see, runs all the way to the kibbutz. That's where we make money. Because you buy the mineral water called Ein Gedi, right? So we bottle them and we sell them. And that's another thing, it's a big issue now because someone woke up and said, wait a minute, that's a spring. How come the kibbutz members are making the money? Yeah. When this spring belongs to everyone. Right. Well, of course, you know, in Israel, we don't like to see someone else making money. And of course, now it's in courts, but it's nice to see that we fight over that and not over something else.
What's up, man?
I'm reminded of a story that I heard of an Israeli officer in the Israeli army that one day he was in the center of some kind of action, and world media was present at that time in that town, and for some reason that young officer was the following day all over the newspapers all over the world. I mean, talking about TV, but most of it was the newspapers all over Europe, America, and other places. I guess, I don't know why, but his face showed some kind of concern. And one American girl, and I'm trying to tell you the exact story the way I heard it, but if I'm not correct, you'll forgive me. But one American girl, a very wealthy young girl, she saw that picture of the young Israeli officer with his face very much concerned and under a lot of stress. She decided to cut that picture from the newspaper and start praying for him daily. She felt the burden from God to pray for him on a daily basis. Well, sure enough, a year later, the Lord spoke to her to come to Israel and volunteer in the kibbutz. And she made it to Israel, and she got off the bus in Jerusalem. She took the bus to that kibbutz, and the moment she gets off the bus at the kibbutz and started walking all the way into the kibbutz, there's a young man that is walking right at her, and behold, it was that officer she's been praying for a whole year. Apparently he was out of the army and everything. Interestingly enough, you know what the original call of God to her to do was? What was it? Pray for her. Now what did she think?
He must be fine now.
Well, but when she saw him, what immediately happened? Exactly. She fell in love. Emotions started being involved. And not only that, but you must understand, circumstances at that moment were that this is her man. That's if you only lean on circumstances, yes? Of course, that's the guy I've been praying for a whole year. Now, the first one I see in Israel is him. Must be God, yes? Sometimes circumstances can deceive us, yes? Well, apparently that guy just started dating a girl whom he is about to marry a year later. He never heard of, you know, circumstances. He didn't even know that that girl has been praying for him for a whole year. Well, broken-hearted, that girl went back home after a few months, and she obviously never got to marry that man or fulfill her love with him. It was just obvious to her that, I guess, that's not God's will. Bottom line is that I could have been a very rich man in San Diego nowadays.
You're the man. I knew that.
Okay, but what I want you to know is this. Circumstances are deceiving. Look at the circumstances. She's been praying for me for a whole year. She even sent me a few months later that little picture of myself on the San Diego Tribune. And that's it. It was obvious that I'm her man. And of course, God never told her to marry me. God told her to pray for me. But she thought that circumstances are... And you know what? We're coming to Ein Gedi where circumstances are really on the side of deceiving David. And if it was not David's personal relationship with God, and leaning only on what his men are saying, and on circumstances only, I believe that David could have been doing a fatal mistake here. And my lesson to myself, and I think that the lesson from this whole story is that, you know, if you don't have a personal relationship with God, even your best friends who supposedly are believers and supposedly want the best for you, they can give you the wrong ideas and the wrong direction. And you can even be deceived not only by them, but even by circumstances that might even confirm their theories. I want you to know that unless you have personal relationship with God, you will always do mistakes. And the mistakes are sometimes because of circumstances and feelings and advices of other people that have hidden agenda you have no clue that they do. And the Lord has no hidden agenda with you. The only thing He wants from you is to go in His ways, and He will only give you the right direction. So I want to encourage you here. You know, I could have been a rich man in San Diego right now. She was very wealthy. I married a girl with nothing. Her father-in-law and mother-in-law are broke. But I am a happy man.
Amen.